Yeah, there's a Laker game today at 5. I don't know if I'm going to make it because I really want to get through this. But then tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I'm not doing anything then. My folks are going to visit family. So I have all day tomorrow to do these videos too, maybe. So we'll see. I have time. I'm trying to be cool on the timeline here, not be too stressed out. Things happen as they're going to happen. That's why I've taken this journey this year. I give myself the whole year. So, online courtship. I was talking about how the way I'm interacting with her is a little bit silly with like having to talk about other people, but I'm a little mature. I'm starting to get experience, but someone told me once, if you smoke, it's just because you don't love yourself. It's kind of true, I think. I stopped smoking consistently when I was 30. Nicotine's a very hard drug, so when you drink or you always want that one-off cigarette. But I've quit a couple times in my life. It does help you quit when you quit before. I don't think I'll ever pick back up hardcore. I can. There's been times in my life I'm like, I just want to smoke right now, buy a pack, and but I'll never really like pick back up and consistently smoke. I'll do a pack like over the course of a couple days if you're doing something. I haven't done that in a while. Was the last time I did that? I don't even know. But so I don't even know if I'd be able to do that. My lungs would hurt. But yeah, but back then definitely I'm smoking, she's smoking. We're trying to be young assholes, abuse our body because it's cool, right? There's this girl who's 22 now that I hung out with just a couple months ago. She's doing a bunch of ketamine. I'd never done ketamine before. On my homeless trip, I'm like, all right, let's do whatever drugs I haven't done. Not look them out, but I'm not going to say no. I was in a very yes mode. That's when I did heroin. So I did the ketamine, and then I looked it up. I was like, oh shit, this could actually fuck up your kidneys. Google says it's not good for you. And then she's doing it more than a couple times a week. And I'm like, it says you shouldn't do it more than once a week. Like, this is irreversible damage. Kidneys, I've had family members with kidney problems. Kidneys are one of those organs you don't want to fuck up. But she's like, oh, that prefrontal cortex isn't developed. It doesn't matter. But anyways, so I say to this girl, I'm on to number 2. She says, "Ooh, you got the reference. Good job, new friend. I like the stats. Why? Which city did you flee from?" It's because so she put Shooter Jennings. That's how I was talking about her past. Watching the Drudge Report, listening to the country music. A little Latina trying to be a little white girl because she had this conservative Italian family who this guy had gotten into her head a little bit, which she was now reacting to and reacting to her Catholic upbringing by being a little hoe bag in the streets of New York City. Uh, Her and her friend would like meet dudes at hotel rooms, and she would go out on these dates with fucking a man's shirt, just a long man's shirt with a belt at the waist, and call it a dress. The dates where you meet someone at their fucking hotel room or at their fucking apartment, but you're just going to hook up, like not dates. And I saw that perspective from the stories she would tell me, where she had one around New Year's, around this time that we're talking, where these French guys, she had a partner in crime. Usually it's she wasn't the worst, but her friend was worse, and so her friend later on became a junkie, started doing heroin, and she tells me recently, she's like, "Shaz, you saved me. I was on a bad path." And that's where you're like, all right, I'm being the best person I can be, is when like this addicted girl who's now not addicted. That's why later on in my poetry, when I say men protect women or something, when I use terms that some people tell me sound slightly misogynistic, I'm just speaking my truth from what I've lived. Is that I've seen people in trouble and I've tried to help them, and sometimes I've succeeded. I haven't helped everyone, and I haven't always done it in the best way, and I acknowledge when I was projecting my insecurities. But she acknowledged recently when I was in this homeless path, because I hadn't talked to her. I hadn't talked to a lot of people for like a month or two, just wandering around the city or with a friend that I wasn't talking to other friends because I was at this friend's house. But I was just keeping my head clear and thinking about who I am without interference, even without friend interference or family interference. After I lost the apartment, it took me a minute to get over that. I didn't realize how much that was a part of my personality, which is I guess why I've been free falling to figure out what is a part of my personality and what are these things that I've just built upon. What is the convenient lifestyle I built for myself. So, but she sent me a really nice text message where she was like, "I was really on a bad path when I met you, and I think you saved me, and a lot of who I am is due to you, and you're such an important person in my life." And I think that's giving me too much credit. We a good love you save each other. So I learned not to save people, or not to try to save people from the addicted girl. So we just met each other at interesting times in our lives where we both really needed the love that we could give each other. It's like my friends who decided one day, when I moved up to Santa Cruz and I brought them up with me, but they stopped meth on their own, but they met in high school, and seniors in high school, and they both were doing methamphetamines, and San Bernardino is the meth capital of the world. And one day they're like, let's just not pick up today, because they had so much love between each other, and they had found a home. They found shelter from this shitstorm, which is life sometimes, especially if your parents are, it's a very Christian community down there, or fucking they're pushing pills on you. This kid, her boyfriend, was fucking getting pushed pills since he was like a 13-year-old, and he didn't feel a lot of love from his parents, and they were divorced. And you just fucking when you actually find another human being that you could seek shelter in their love, and you also feel like your love that you give them is worth something. And that's why I said earlier in another video, that's fuck you love, where you can actually tell the world, fuck you, fuck your drugs, fuck your bullshit, fuck your jobs, fuck whatever. I got this those are the couples who do that stupid shit, and but that beautiful romantic shit, move to Hawaii, move somewhere. It's like, fuck the world. That's what I saw in Addie the Addict. She did that when she was 16. She had a boyfriend in Florida, and they just jumped in a car and just drove across country. And since they were underage, they got caught like a couple states over, and the boy got in trouble. He almost got caught for kidnapping. I think he's a year or two older than her. But yeah, he was of age, and so he could have been in big trouble. But I think things were sorted out. But that I noticed in her that young spirit. I met her when she was 17, just a year after that happened. But I heard that story from her brother, because that's how I met her, through her brother. Went to middle school with me. But so that's what me and this girl had. I had all that political stuff, and had the art stuff. I had this newfound sense of confidence, but I got the DUI, so I knew I was on a self. I was being self-destructive somewhat. The DUI was a part of a self-destructive pattern. And then when I ran into that one girl with the baby who wasn't being treated right by her baby daddy, and she was basically captured in this apartment. Like I could tell she still loved her baby's dad, but he wasn't ever going to be with her. But he would still come around every now and then to check in on the kid. She was just stuck, and beer cans in her fucking porch. Her bathroom looked like it was growing 5 types of fungus up to the ceiling. All of her furniture was inflatable. The baby's crying in the living room while I'm fucking her in the bedroom, on the floor, because you're not going to fuck an inflatable bed. It was like 5 ways to tragic. And she was so still beautiful in her heart, and she was the bloom was coming off the rose as far as that beautiful cheerleader girl who's now had a kid who's not treating her life right. If she wasn't doing heroin yet, she was on that path. I don't think she would have done speed, but she was on the path to just fucking take in the happiness injection to fucking make everything go away. And that's why when you demonize people who do drugs, it's like, have some fucking context for their life. Like, you don't even know the amount of suffering that they're trying to avoid. I've yet to meet an addict who isn't trying to avoid suffering, because what are you escaping? It's an escape. It's maybe some of it is a curiosity, but I don't meet those ones who are just curious. I meet the ones who are fucking in pain. You take opioids for physical pain, but also for psychological pain. A lot of fucking rape victims, molestations, fucking just bad life, bad parents, bad set of cards. It's like, that's what life offers you when you don't have the family and the friends and everything else. They offer you, it's like that or fucking suicide. And sometimes it's one or the other. Attempted suicide, or a little bit more drugs, and then another attempted suicide. Is you're just pinballing through fucking bumpers of life until you fall down the drain. But that's not me and her. We weren't that tragic. So she was just a little Latina trying to figure out her identity, sexually and also apparently politically. So she said, "Ooh, you got the reference. Good job, new friend." I did. I just Googled it. I noticed it was a song lyric. Googled it. Oh, Shooter Jennings. Oh, bitch, this bitch likes country. All right, whatever. I could fuck with this. She's cute. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Shooter Jennings. And what did I do? I borrowed a line from fucking Princess Bride. The world is in short supply of good music taste, so it'd be in bad shape without you. What's his name? The main dude in Princess Bride says when he's on the bed, the world is in good supply of perfect breasts. It'd be a shame to lose yours, when she's about to stab herself. So where do we model ourselves on manhood and masculinity and stuff. Humans, that's where when people talk about how just because kids play with a lot of guns online doesn't mean that they get more violent. The fuck they don't. That's all humans are, a bunch of monkeys scratching our asses because we see someone else scratch their ass. We're mimetic. We're a bunch of mirrors facing each other. And if someone starts a trend, that's what memes are. Someone else starts a trend. What we consume is what we produce. So yeah, I'm fucking spitting out lines from movies I've seen. From cool guys. That was like, that guy's cool. Suave, confident, how you see yourself in your mind. Good job, new friend. I like the stats. And then also, I knew enough about online dating, starting to realize from the female perspective that she's getting a lot of interest probably. So I need to differentiate myself, and I sent a, and then also that sexiness. You don't want your sexy picture to be the only thing that you. So you don't want to play it up too much, but there has to be some level of attraction. So I thought she was sexy, and but with the girls, it's like if they're still talking to you, they think you're attractive. You don't gotta, because guys are more visual than girls in how we perceive sexuality. I think that's proven biologically. So if there's, you just present yourself, and if they're still talking to you, they're interested, because if they weren't attracted to you, they'd probably edit out of that situation, because most girls get enough attention, especially in New York City, because this girl's been hit on fucking all her life since, she would make her skirts 2 inches shorter than the Catholic school regimen required or whatever. There's like this rule on how you have to wear these clothes, and you can only alter them certain length. And she would get her aunt, Latina of course, her aunt's a seamstress, to alter her skirts, make them higher, so that way fucking she's the girl walking around with like the skirts almost showing her ass and shit. So she knows how to deal with male attention. She's the type of girl, when if you talk about misogyny and cat calls and this and that, there's another side to feminism, which is why I kind of got curious about Pogli and these other feminists. It isn't just one side. There isn't just one answer, and that's where the prescriptive, liberal, progressive, whatever gets off base. She likes cat calls. Some people like cat calls. If she walks by a construction site, people are hollering at her. She likes male attention in any form. She doesn't like being made uncomfortable. And so there is a guy she told me about who followed her on the street once, who she had to duck into the store. But he was a homeless dude, and he was saying, girl, looking so good, I want to suck that meat off the bone, just like a chicken wing. And he fucking freaked her the fuck out. She thought he was going to eat her flesh. But it's like rule 1, be attractive. Rule 2, don't be unattractive. But with girls like her, she's a bit of an omnivore too. She likes a guy with big hands, or like a guy who's fucking big. So like, if you think that you're fat or you're this and that, not to girls like this. That's where when people, their insecurities, they project them. And that's men with confidence as they get older start to realize that there's your type of girls out there. This girl looks gorgeous, but she's not looking for one type of dude. She's looking for a presence. And then if you're big and husky, that's actually kind of her thing. But then we were just talking about this one dude she was with, that he was skinny, and she's not usually into that, but she likes, what do you call it? She likes the mandango. She likes it when he's packing a Louisville Slugger. I don't know what's a euphemism for a big dick. So some girl are size whores, size queens, whatever you call it. So and that's what I have this long running argument with her, where I tell her that you can't tell the size of a man's dick from his appendages. And she claimed all her life, or all since I've known her for 10 years, that no, big feet, big hands. And I'm like, no, because these are bones. Your dick doesn't really have a bone. Kind of, sort of, but not really. It's more of a hydraulic system. So that's a fleshy appendage. Just like you don't tell the size of your nose by your hands. Maybe there's a correlation, but not a direct correlation. There's exceptions, is what I'm saying. And so she just ran across one of the exceptions, this skinny little dude, where she was like, he had big dick energy. Big dick energy, I think, is the thing. So this guy's like, she went to this party recently. She has a boyfriend, but they're pretty open and she thirsty. Some people have a higher sex drive than other people. So that she has a boyfriend and she's doing her thing, but they allow each other to play if under the circumstances. And they have awesome communication. I give her boyfriend shit because he's not my type of person, but he's her type of person. And he justifies us not being together. because to see your ex be with someone who's more similar to them than you could have ever been, then you're like, okay, I made the right decision. So that's where I know that if I look back and regret, it would be selfish, because when I regret not locking this girl down, it's because I feel like I might not end up with someone. But when I see her with someone who is like, this guy used to be in a Broadway show, he sings, he dances, he's a fucking ham, he's super cerebral intelligent, they have their own inside jokes. When you see your ex starting new inside jokes with this new relationship, like I dance, I'll do what I have to do to, I get down, I'm with the, or I'm not with a dancer anymore, but like I've been with dancers and I like physical stuff, but like usually it's like I'm chilling and then I'm like, all right, you have to keep your, and this is what this girl taught me, being in a real relationship, how to make a woman happy. If she wants you to dance, you got to dance. You know, you can't take a woman somewhere and not do what she's into. So she's into dancing and this and that, and you don't always want to be just dragged to do stuff. You have to think, what makes this girl happy, and then if you love her, feed into her. It's a garden. A relationship is something you put time and effort into, and you do that by getting to know them, what makes them happy and stuff. But so, and not to make too long of an aside, but there's this guy recently who she turned out to be the exception to the rule. She did not know he was packing heat, and she told me I stayed with her recently during my homeless trip, and we're talking about shit, and this is the cool stuff for your friends that go way back. You can like, nothing is off limits. So we're just talking about stupid shit, and I think I was telling her about some thick girl I was with recently, and she was like, "Tell me about this surprise." She was like, "He was a little guy." Because she's not big and tall like she's used to, and not husky, but he kept going after her, and she was with someone at that party. She went to that party with someone. She didn't hook up with them. It was just a friend, but she knew the friend was into him. She couldn't understand why this little guy kept being on her like a little chihuahua. She was like, "Why does this guy think he could fucking get me?" He's like, and he's respectful, but like he made it clear that he was into her. So eventually later, like a couple weekends later, they had a time together or something like that, where he invited her somewhere and she hung out, and he was very intriguing and engaging and charismatic. But then the reveal was like, "Oh, I didn't know that's what we were dealing with," and she did a 180, and she now she considers it a potential. I don't know. People are funny with relationships. I try not to be that way. I think she's kind of like that. That's one of the things that we're not compatible, I guess, is I think some people need to have a foot into another relationship before they could leave the last one. So I think if she's going to leave her current relationship, she has to kind of have other options, because people don't want to be single or don't want to be vulnerable. I'm thinking about doing Tinder, and after I do the conversations about her, I think I'll be in a good headspace to respond to the couple of Tinder matches I got recently, and then I'll do those, and I don't know if I should show pictures of them. Maybe I will. Why not? Radical honesty. And then if it fucks it up, or if later on there's bad consequences, then you learn from that. We're not killing anyone. Hopefully. But she yeah, I try not to. I'm doing that because I don't want to bug the dancer girl. I've already blocked her. Some people think that that's stupid or passive aggressive, but I'm still in my old age. I'm still sensitive, and I don't project my feelings and emotions, but instead of doing that, in my mind, when it's done, it's done. If we're not going to be together and I need some space to clear my head, I need some space to clear my head. I don't feel ashamed for taking time to myself. If people think that's passive aggressive or whatever, it's my life. It's not other people's lives. I can't interact with someone if I'm trying to get over them. It's that simple. Me and this girl, she moved to Portland after we broke up. She was like, "I can't be in New York with you. This is fucking, it's going to be terrible." She made a good decision. After she came back from Portland after a year or two, I got her licensed in real estate. I was like, "I need your help. Come out. I think it would be good for you to know this in New York. Just know how to make a career." And she's killing it now. And I don't know if she'll stay in real estate, but I got her licensed, taught her what I know as a friend. I've helped a friend start a career, so that way, if you ever need to make money, real estate's a great way to do in New York if you're hard up for money. She has a lot of good connections, meeting some really powerful, important people around the city. She's gorgeous and she's very articulate. She worked for a marketing firm. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself, but she but yeah, that I was talking about the big dick story. She she, I feel like she's that type of person where she kind of needs to be halfway into the new thing before she can let go of the past thing. And I don't think I'm that person. I think I try to be a little bit more like I need my space, but I won't just jump into the next thing. Right now, I'm just kind of curious doing this whole introspection tour, what an outsider's perspective would be. And a lot of my wisdoms come from women in my life, so it'd be interesting to have a, not something serious, but something casual, but let them get that feedback. And maybe even like have them do a video or something. That's maybe not. Maybe this is just my writing project. But that might be a blind spot of mine now. Being not having sex for 3-4 months, I might be a little bit horny. I am a little horny. I'm a lot horny. But that might be bleeding into this. And so it'll be interesting if I get well laid a little bit, if I'll be a little bit more chill on the videos. When you talk about sex, it's usually because it's on your mind. If it's on your mind, it's usually because you're not well fed. You know, you're daydreaming about food because you're lost in the desert. So, any lucky strike? Are they Lucky Strikes, the original filterless, or do you do the Lucky Strikes of the new era? I prefer the latter. Filterless Lucky Strikes are the filthiest things I've smoked, but for some reason I respect those who can pull them off happily. Yes, she thinks I'm tough. Big fan of Jack. Big fan of any liquor or booze, actually. I'm increasingly becoming a drunk, but it must be said that I'm a rather functional one. Always know when to tap out. Don't like to be belligerent, slobbering on myself, blacking out, vomiting. Awesome. I have a girl who fucking TMI, too much information too. She's a dork just like me, right? Learning how to handle herself. When we're young, we think we're so cool talking about our debauchery and, oh yeah, I'm such an idiot and I like to get fucked up. You like to get fucked up? Oh, dude, I'm barred out. Let's fucking do some bars and some cat and some blah, blah, blah. So anyways, and then you try to smoke weed with him like, oh, no, I don't smoke weed. I don't want to let my mind wander. Then I might actually have to confront my thoughts. She took a year when we moved to Berkeley to learn how to smoke weed. This is when I first started smoking weed too, when you're young. She was like, my mind's races. I can't talk. I would bring her around my friends in Santa Cruz and she's smoking, then she's just quiet. And it takes you a minute to practice. Like, it's okay if you're missing the conversation. It's like I had a friend tell me once, she was like, I was going to say something, but it's like a merry-go-round. Every time people were talking, my thought wouldn't come out in time, and I'd be like, okay, I just missed it. I had times where I just laid back on my back, stunned. I'm like, my mind's racing. But eventually you learn how to catch the merry-go-round. So me and her in Berkeley, when I was getting free weed, this guy was having me test his weed, which was really nice, give me free samples. What do you think about this? Buying from farmers. They had before it was legal, it was on its way to get legal, and they had a license, and then farmers would come down and sell to him, so they'd give him free samples, which he would kick down at me, and I'd be like, dude, that Blue Dream is a shit, or like this or that. And so me and her would smoke a lot, and just like, that's the best way to learn how to smoke. Safe, comfortable environment with someone you love. Just talk, what's going on in your head. You're too stoned, just hang out. Don't worry, next time we'll smoke a little bit less. Smoke one hit. Wait, how do you feel? Observe your mind. That's the practice. Every ritualistic drug is a practice through human civilizations. The narratives we have right now, drugs are bad. They also said war is good, so fuck those people. These are ritualistic drugs which we've been taking since the beginning of time. Weed, you can find anointing oil with cannabis in early Christian sects. They were also doing mushrooms. You could find the fucking builders of the pyramids drinking beer. So ritualistic drug taking is a part of civilization and human nature. Bears fucking look out psilocybin mushrooms and take them. Dolphins chomp on pufferfish fish. Altering your state of consciousness is a natural part of life, human development. Do something that alters your state of consciousness and then observe your mind, and you'll probably come away with a different experience about who you are. And then that is the practice which you begin. Depending on whether you want to make that a full practice, a little practice, you want to just be a tourist, you want to try it once or twice. I have a physical practice in order to make my body stronger. I have a mental practice, and some of that involves what I'm doing right now, which is recapping my life. The art, in order to clear out the creativity and forge my ideals into an aesthetic form. And then I have the psychedelics too. So first off, wow, you are gorgeous. What is a nice girl like you doing on CL? Yeah, I smoke the filterless. The filters will kill you, says my grandmother. That's just a made-up line. It's like, I don't even talk to my grandmother. Honestly, once you get used to them, nothing else tastes as good. And I just love their marketing slogan on the package. It's toasted. Here's a picture of me and Cali Sunshine. What do you say to meeting up for a couple shots of my friend Mr. Daniels and some toasted cigs? I'm off to L at Lorimer in Williamsburg. Deuces. Right? And then I show the picture. That's a picture I took in Santa Cruz in the backyard. That was after a really heavy drinking session. One of those, like, telling my bro who lived in the garage, hey, yo, I'm going down to the beach. And then he's like, oh, no, don't do it. And we're, like, drinking, like, yeah, we got pretty drunk that night. And then so we wander down the little road to the beach, which is a good 10-minute walk, and then jump in and swim naked and shit. And I think we had a bonfire and then some girls down there, I think. And then we passed out on the beach by the fire. Didn't know how to start that process of, oh, girls are here, let me just get really drunk and kind of stare at them creepily. So they left after a while, I'm pretty sure. But afterwards I felt very, I think a good picture isn't just that you look good, but like whatever's going through your mind. And that was me, like just kind of like ready to die from my hangover, but it makes me look casually cool. And I got my decent build I've been maintaining since I was a wrestler. By the way, I fled Los Angeles, came to New York City to work for, I might be talking too much. I'm sending her 2 emails for her one, breaking some rules. By the way, I fled Los Angeles, came out to New York City to work for an enviro nonprofit. That was Greenpeace. I was a guy who, like, you stop people on the streets. Excuse me, do you have a minute to talk for the environment? And this is sales. So like, I'm trying to get my physical experience with women, but at the same time, I'm also doing sales, which really one helps the other, because when you make 200 phone calls to gatekeepers trying to find out people's expiration dates for their insurance selling policies, you don't even know what the fucking policy is. And you're sitting down now in front of a guy who started off with 1 truck with the money he borrowed from his Cuban aunt, and then turned that into an empire of 150 trucks. And now he makes over $1 million revenue. And I'm trying to talk to him about how I can lower his long-haul trucking insurance, his liability on the trucks, but also his reefer coverage for the refrigerated trucks. I have no idea what the words are coming out of my mouth. I don't even know how to sell this shit. But somehow I got through to the gatekeeper and got an appointment with the CEO of the company. And he just likes my energy. I'm being an articulate young man dressed up in not a suit, but a tie, collared shirt, slacks. And successful people like go-getters. But after a couple minutes talking with him, maybe I fooled him, maybe not. I never really closed one of those big policies. They would have been like nice $10,000, $20,000 commissions. So I got my parents some commissions, didn't get one of those, but I sat down with a good couple dozen of those dudes, never sold one. Later on in real estate, I looked back and thought, all right, what didn't I have? And then I figured it out. A little bit of confidence, but also you have to have a good product. You have to know your market, some other stuff that I feel like when I was trying to do it with my folks, I was going with just pure energy. And brokering insurance, brokering apartments, brokering within markets has a certain logic to it. Brokering romance has a certain logic to it. But when I was out there, I was doing Greenpeace. I'm that guy on the street. So now that's my thing. All it is energy. I'm not brokering a high-level transaction where you have to actually know the insurance products really well. And these guys, when they start asking me about coverage and what about the trailers and what about your additional coverage and how do you guys deal with claims? It's like, I just want your money, sir. If you just sign the policy, my parents will be proud of me. But when you're doing Greenpeace, it's like, it's just energy. It's like, this lady I got to sign up. This is what we had to do in Greenpeace. We had to stop someone on the street, which is fucking an impossibility alone in New York. And then we had to get them to listen to our spiel, and then decide to donate money to Greenpeace. But not one time. We have to sign up a certain many of continuing subscribers where you sign up, and every month this money is going to come out of your bank account for Greenpeace. Greenpeace is a really great brand. When I sold cars, it was only for a week, but I sold Honda. And Honda sells itself. It's a very good brand. Honda and Toyota are great, reliable brands. I bought a Honda once, and you could weld the hood shut and fucking drive it for 100,000 miles. You'll never have an issue. Maybe there's exceptions, but they're pretty good reputation on dependability. So Greenpeace, they're a pretty good reputation. If something happens in the world against the environment, they're there. They're like the ACLU. They're like what we make. The common person feels like at least there's someone watching the environment. So, and my dork ass, when I got hired, I went to our little sales meetings where they're just teaching us how to do the job and stop people on the street. And I'm like, I looked on the website and there's a typo, and maybe, I was just thinking this corporation, and like, I'm in Greenpeace. Maybe I could work from here into like helping their writing and their website and this and that, but they don't care. They just wanted us to sign people up. I'm still naive and idealistic looking at the world in certain ways. If I had to say one of the main things that real estate cured me of is having people repeatedly lie to your face, threaten to sue you, just act like total scumbags, just to really reset your view of the world. Not that I'm cynical now, but there is a spectrum of human behavior, and until you deal with some of the most bullshit business side, you don't. Now you understand. All right, things could go to this kind of funny place, and you learn how to contain assholes. Or when you deal with people who are being very manipulative with information or other ways, you learn how to. You don't have to be an asshole, but there's a certain way to deal with those certain types of people. Um, but yeah, and I think Greenpeace is kind of, if you look at how they're operating, they're shifting a lot of their focus from what their primary mission was to this fundraising efforts because they're making so much money. So I think, I don't know if they're assholes now, but they're getting a little bit away from the idealistic spirit. And I was I was experiencing that firsthand. I was that first wave of canvases that they're starting to try out, and it became very successful for them. So they started investing more and more in that. So we were just there to make money for them. We weren't there to fucking correct typos on their website or talk about their larger campaigns. And so we have to stop people on the street, not get one-time donation, but get a sustaining donation. And then we would ask them to pull out their credit card, and we'd take a crayon, literally a crayon, and we had a piece of paper, a receipt, and we would rub their credit card with the crayon. If you put the paper over the credit card, rub it in order to make the copy how you used to do in like restaurants or old places. We didn't even have a machine where you'd go ch-ch. We would use a crayon, make the copy, and then we write out the receipt. So super ghetto. Fucking, it wasn't a one-time thing, and you'd had to get 3 of those a day in order to survive. There's days that I did less than 3, but usually I did my quota. If you don't hit your quota a couple days in a row, you get fired. So like, and there's exceptions to that too. But if they really liked you or you had a rapport, they would try to train you back up. But you had to hit your 3 a day, so you'd be out there 5 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, maybe 8-hour days some days. It was like a part-time job. It was like 20, 30 hours a week, so probably 6 hours most. But being in New York, being on the streets, even when I was doing real estate, I remember walking by corners that I used to do the Greenpeace on. Every now and then I would see them out there, the other dudes, and I would still avoid them like every rational person does. But sometimes I would talk to them. But I'm not about to sign up for that sustaining shit. I probably should. I think when I first got out, I did, feeling like I should pay it back. But now I'm not so sure how I feel about the organization. But I'm out there, and there's that girl we had a vibe, but then this thing took off, and this is the one that I wanted to lock down. So I cut off all my other BS stuff, the Jewish girl, and I stopped trying to pursue this girl in Greenpeace, who had a boyfriend anyways, and she was a recovering addict. And it was like, oh, that's an old pattern. Let me try to create new patterns instead of falling into old patterns. But yeah, being on the streets and fucking, I said like, the first snow in New York coming down, it's like God shaving a chicken, just big old fat feathers of snow falling down and putting your tongue out and catching it, and then seeing people on the street. And I would stop this old lady with a hug. I'm like, you can't avoid me, and then make her hug me. And then it's like, all right, now she's going to hear my pitch. And she signed up. She was a beautiful woman. There's this guy taking the trash. He was in a suit, but taking trash out of the garbage can so he could put it in a recycling bag because he was pissed off and shouting at the world about how New York doesn't recycle. I'm like, dude, sign up for Greenpeace. So just being smart. And then the energy. It's all about energy, opening. So you didn't really have to have a skill set. Just if you're a good opener in sales, high energy is what's going to get that. And then also with relationships, if you're going to go out and do the track of trying to get a relationship by sitting in a bar or physically, which I think the Tinder, no, I don't know. I wake up sometimes and I'm like, why am I doing this fucking stupid Tinder thing? But then today I was like, I'm going to do the swipey swipe. It's a numbers thing. And now I have a professor in LA who actually might be a decent little bit of company while I'm doing this project. But I also have been checking out the neighborhood. There's some decent places. But if you want to go do that thing and just post up somewhere and kind of see the in-person thing, you don't dance in a dive bar, don't sulk in a dance bar is what I always try to remind myself. So just recognize what mood you're in. You can go to a divey place if you're feeling like just sitting there with a book or just not. No, you don't want to be the guy with the book at the bar. Fucking always comes off a little douchey unless it's a really good book. And even then, you're probably not going to read it because the whole point is someone's going to talk to you and you're going to fucking put the book away. If that dude is ignoring people while you read the book in the bar, then I'm like, because a bar's a social place. But But then like with the dance bar, it's like just make sure you can bring the energy up if that's where you're supposed to be. A bar with a nice jukebox, which I've done too. It's like you don't even got to dance, but like go there, have a beer or two, get yourself a little bit lively, and then go through like memory lane. Play some music that touches some emotions, and then you're a little swaying and catch someone's eye. I don't know. Ways that I've found to interact with people socially. It's not an exact science. So I said, I fled. I only have 25 minutes, 4 more minutes on this. I fled Los Angeles, came out to New York City to work for an nonprofit, hopefully sell a work of fiction. Hopefully. Shaz, more positive language in your planning. That's funny that you use the term fled. Described my sentiments exactly. I'll be up for a while doing laundry. Hit me up if you're still struggling to find a reason to make it through the winter. Nice, doing laundry at this hour. Nothing better than getting this in some house tidying in the wee morning hours. Yesterday I took to scouring the tub at 2 a.m. I was a happy girl. She was doing a lot of riddling at this time. I like you. You're quirky. Want to have a Jack and Suds party? Get to share my whiskey while I get my whites their whitest. I don't know why I thought that was a good line. She told me afterwards, you were a weirdo. You were trying to invite me to do laundry with you and drink whiskey. She just thought that was weird, and a lot of this was negative in her mind. Some of the only reasons she ended up hanging out with me is because we ended up being only a couple blocks away from each other. She's like, fuck it, I'll meet you down the street. But sometimes when you think you're smooth, it's just luck that you're not falling out of some girl's radar despite everything you do that seems to be. But then I guess that means she kind of likes you. Like if like she's still putting up with like your weirdness. But she told me that like me inviting her to do laundry with me and drinking whiskey, I thought it was genius. But I think that's a fallacy that I have, is that do more objectively neutral things and invite people to those objectively neutral things until your personality comes out. And then when they find out you're quirky, then you can do the quirky things. But if you're still getting to know someone, I try to play it a little bit safe, like a little bit of personality, but maybe boring people try to play up the quirkiness. And so they come out with these lines and these crazy pickup lines and crazy scenarios. But for me, I find that I'm odd enough on my own that when I'm first getting to know someone, I'm trying to remind myself, tone it down, tone it down. And then once they get to know me, if they like me at all, they forgive the eccentricities, which all these girls in my life seem to have allowed me to be myself eventually. So when I first met this girl in person, I remember just thinking like, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up. Because she was so pretty. And she was like, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, I'm Shaz. And we're standing outside my brother's apartment, and he's going off on some fucking grinder date or something. How easy the gay have it. And we're smoking a cigarette, trying to be cool. And then the whole time she's talking to me, I'm reminding myself to like keep it out of two. Like I have these, like I could be a little eccentric. I could be like, I'm basically, and I've told Addie the addict this before. I said I couldn't have had my relationship with homegirl here without you showing me all these things not to do, because they didn't work on you. The way I projected my insecurities, the way my love was so controlling, the way like give you flowers but then resent you if you didn't appreciate me giving you flowers, drive you somewhere, do things for you but then resent you if you didn't reciprocate. So with this girl, I'm like being like, all right, just chill, just remember to be chill. So when I'm talking to her, I remember that first conversation, we're just talking, I'm thinking about how beautiful she is while I smoke, and I'm like, just in my mind, I'm like, don't fuck this up. And I think that's when you know it's love. When you're like, love is when you care enough or you're inspired enough to self-correct before you self-implode, right? So if there is hope for everyone, I think. Sometimes we don't have that self-awareness, but those moments when it all works out, it might be because it was just worth it to just, this one time, don't be a dumbass. You could be a dumbass every other time before, every other time after, but with this one, Shaz, don't fuck it up. That's what I was telling myself. So, let's see. What was the next one? Oh, so now we're doing the Google chat. Hello, howdy. So you're a real life cowgirl, huh? All the way, homie. Listen to your fucking country. I always like to pepper my speeches with a little early 90s vernacular. It feels so natural. You can tell we both think that we're smart kids. I'm kind of wary of you. You're folksy but intelligent and really cute. Could be a heartbreaker. That's like a line of mine. It's like, oh, you heartbreaker. Oh, you teasing. Folksy, you're spot on, but what gave it away? Oh, come on, you're screaming country roots. How so? I picture you with a cowboy hat right now, listening to Patsy Cline. I'm thinking, man, I want this girl to like me. I'm trying to reference some country. Haha, the image made me smile because ideal, that is all I would do. Don country attire and listen to country music, but not Patsy Cline though. Girls' voices annoy me. I'm ever so slightly misogynistic. You see where this is? This is where I tried to tell her now. I'm like, where do those ideas come from? Yeah, this asshole boyfriend who fucking literally beat you until your ear popped. Like, he wouldn't always beat her, but like they just had a fight once where like that's indicative of a relationship in a way. So it's like her girl voices annoy me. She's fronting, and when you're young, you're trying on personalities. I think she only really figured out who she was after our relationship, and then after going to Portland, she lived in a house with four other women, a house with five women, dropped a lot of acid, did like a naked bike ride through the city, just all these experiences that were completely her own experiences. She was following me for a little bit during our relationship. We went to California, we went to Puerto Rico, and that's one of the reasons I thought we had to end it. I loved her and I wanted her to be her own person, and she was too much my person. She would have followed me on my political craziness, and she had. She's the one who came with me when I did my tour of California and I was running for governor, but it wasn't her plan, it was my plan. So like back then I see all these little like, I think this is how you look at the youth with compassion. It's like they're just trying out roles. It's not good, it's not bad, it's life. And we might still be trying out roles now, but hopefully now I'm just crafting and honing a role. But the more and more you get a sense of knowing who you are, or at least who you're trying to be, then you're not swinging so far on the pendulum. And when you swing, when there's a big self-correction, then that's evidence of a big blind spot. Like when you crack the knuckle, cracking your knuckle, there's air in between your knuckles, that sound. And so a big correction is a big gap that just closed. So girls' voices annoy me. She doesn't believe that now. So I don't even know if she's actually read this. I sent her the link. How about Dolly? You have to love Dolly. I adore Dolly. She is one of the few exceptions. For the most part, I find girls' voices to be whiny and rage-inducing. Dolly is so over the top, it's acceptable. How about Bobby Bear Jr.? Or some old Hank Williams or Willie? I'm trying to go a little bit deeper cuts from what I know from research and stuff. She smiles. So it's like, all right, I know enough to not press the issue. I've started to learn the subtleties of communication with the opposite sex, having been laid and gone with a couple different types of girls, and that's what it is. Not just one type of girl, but you need a couple different types of girls to know, all right, push this, not so much, push that. All right, so here's the plan. I'm like, all right, I gotta get me and her in the same place. But with this dialogue, I rush it too much, and that's why it took us a minute. You're in charge of the music. I'll come over with the cigs and fire water. Oh, is that so? Afterwards, I realized when she told me I sounded like a little bit of a creep trying to get her to drink whiskey and do laundry with me, as a guy, you don't realize how you come off to the girls. It's like she needed more qualification that I wasn't crazy and I didn't have bad intent. So if I understood that more and I had more experience, which I like to think I have now, you allow things to happen more organically and understand that if there's a vibe, eventually we're going to have the in-person meeting. And sometimes I slow play it too long. And like that one girl in LA recently, maybe she was looking for a quick casual thing. But it's probably better doing that than to make someone feel uncomfortable. So I was pushing a little bit too much. She was retreating and I wasn't noticing. It's because she doesn't really know who I am, and I haven't cracked her. She has 10, 20 people trying to hit her up right now. And she's talking to maybe 5 of them casually. I haven't cracked her, all right, this is one of the couple I'm going to meet right now. Once you're able to see it from that perspective, you're able to guess how they're playing the game on their side. It's like, all right, am I in your top? And you can even ask too, like, there's ways to ask that without being cheesy, I'm sure. But here's the plan. You're in charge of the music. I come over with cigs and fire water. Oh, is that so? Have ourselves a good old-fashioned singing drunk. I feel that is not very advisable to meet a potential Craigslist creep at this hour in my filthy, unfurnished new home. Oh, yeah, she had just moved out of her parents' place, her first place on her own with this other girl that they're doing crazy stuff, meeting crazy dudes on the internet. I was going to talk about that. One of the stories she had, she met the girl. She went on Craigslist. We're being Craigslist freaks here. We're young and we don't have OkCupid or other stuff. We don't have Tinder. This is 2008. This is why these videos are important, I think, because this is capturing a moment in society. This is how people interacted. So she went online. She was like looking for a partner in crime to go check out the Brooklyn dating scene, or something. Go find me a hipster boyfriend. And this girl who's a little bit older than her says, I think she's 24 at the time. She's like, "Oh, girl, I've run this whole scene up and down, fucking." And so she goes and finds her, and she's this girl, like she's a girl who later became a junkie, and now she's settled down with the dude she met this night. But their story is that she this is right before she meets me, so this is just to contextualize who she is when she meets me. Just got a place with this wild girl, and she just got out of a relationship, just starting to rebel against her Catholic school upbringing, and she only been with that one guy since she was in high school. So now it's like the seal's been broken. Shit, if I'm not the Virgin Mary, then I'll be fucking as slutty come. And so they do, but she's learning from this girl who's showing her the ropes, the older girl. So the older girl points out some hipster dude, fucking 6'2", blonde kid, fucking baby. He looks a lot like, what's that dude that everyone loves? Fucking Ryan Gosling. He looks like a somewhat cuter version of Ryan Gosling. Ryan Gosling's cute, but he's a movie star. You see a lot of people in real life which are cuter than movie stars. Movie stars are good at getting you to like him because they're charismatic. They know how to play a role. But they're usually not the most beautiful person, even in the room. Life offers us many beautiful people in real life if you just open up your eyes. It's just a lot of that is like, we have a familiarity because we see him in movies with good lighting and makeup and shit like that. And that's why when you see him in real life or in non-stage roles, you're like, oh, that's Tom Hanks. He's kind of just a short, fun, like he's a little odd looking, but no, this guy it was dashing. He worked for Rolling Stone for a little bit, and she points him out. She's like, that's gonna be my new ex-boyfriend. And she took him to the bathroom, tried to hook up with him in the bathroom. His dick couldn't get hard, but fucking somehow he got her number. She's pretty sure she ran out of the bathroom just cracking up, and then they left the bar. And he called her the next day, and she doesn't know how he got her number, but she was pretty sure he was a dork, some hipster kid that she fucking like just totally blew his mind, like grabbed him, started making out with him, took him to the bathroom. He wasn't able to fuck her, and she was just like, whatever, loser. And they're together still now. Like, who knows? He held on to her. He fucking fought for that relationship. So she moved into a place with her. And then later on, I moved in with her and him. So it was two couples. It was very cute for a little bit. I remember this night, I was sitting on her floor before we had started having sex. So I was coming over, slow playing it the right way. Just trying to get to know her, trying to develop the relationship. Since she had been hooking up with so many people recently, she didn't want to do that with me, because girls will do this sometimes where they're like, if I have sex with you, it won't mean anything, because right now sex doesn't mean anything to me. And this actually I care about, so I don't want to fuck it up by having sex with you. It made sense to me. I'm like, but why can't we have both? Why can't we just, if we like each other, have a relationship? But she was like, that's what happens when you become a little callous with your love sometimes. I could see her perspective that she was afraid it was going to ruin it. And also it's a way to prove that. That's why I tell my female friends when they feel like they're being forced into stuff. I'm like, look, I've had that done with me too. If it's a good guy, he'll wait. Like, a good guy won't rush the thing. He'll wait. Eventually, I feel like I rushed Jen. The first time we had sex, she had cried afterwards. And this has happened a couple times with me. When you think about trying to be a better man, pushing the issue just because you're horny will instill a little bit of regret in the girl. And then it could have happened in a more beautiful way. So I had another girl when I was doing real estate who told me, I didn't really want to have sex with you the first time, but you just kept bugging and bugging. It's like, that doesn't make you feel good as a dude later on, to feel like, oh, that was like, I guilted you into that. Or it's not physical violence and it's not rape, but it's not the most romantic way. If you're going to build a relationship, it's the first time could be special. You could turn that into something. Life is short, so why not have more special moments if you can that require a little bit more self-control? But that's a little bit of wisdom I'm still thinking about. But the memory I wanted to bring up was sitting on her floor. We're not having sex. It took us until Valentine's Day and this is in December. But I'm coming over and we're reading each other books, like 100 Years of Solitude. So we're getting away from that country shit, and we're not even talking about politics. But she liked writing and art. So I'd read to her, and then we'd sleep together. We'd cuddle, or we'd just sleep. But we'd read. I'd come over sometimes and spend the night, and we'd read. And I remember she was asleep, and I was smoking a cigarette, unfiltered, and she has a inflatable mattress, and there's no furniture because they moved in, and her and the girl are super irresponsible, and none of us have full-time jobs, and so everyone just, I hadn't moved in yet, but I moved in one of the reasons to help him out with rent. So everyone's just fucking hustling whatever they can. She was working in that dungeon, so she's getting paid $80 an hour when she does have work. So it was really good work, but it fucking was eating her soul. She eventually quit that job. Just you have to be a certain type of personality to deal with that shit. It's therapy. It's like, I looked at it like being a nurse. I was like, you really have to deal with a lot of people's shit. Like, these people come to you with issues. Like, these aren't just kinks. These are people who, this is how they get off. Like, they have, like, it's therapy. Like, these people, like, there's some people who just come in and talk, just do cocaine and talk. This guy would come out, pull bags of cocaine out of his socks, lay them on the table. It was like, let's just fucking do lines and talk. Like, people are lonely, and to demonize them or how they get off, like to demonize fucking addicts or to demonize people who go to dungeons or sex work or this and that, you're not, it doesn't help society. It doesn't make you more of a man or more of a law enforcement person or more just to claim the moral superiority high ground over someone else's kink or someone else's sex work or someone else's drug addiction, when in my life these things stem from a lack of love and a desire for human connection, just lets me see who the good humans are and who the bad humans are. And the bad humans aren't the ones with the addictions or with the issues where they can only get off in certain ways, and so they have to go to dungeons in order to fucking get very specific kinks in order to get their pleasure in life. They're complicated humans, but their communication and the relationships they have are actually kind of honest in a way, and they're in seeking happiness in their own special way. Like, how are you going to get mad at someone for just trying to be happy? But anyway, so I'm sitting on that with that as a context, and I'm sitting there thinking about these things, coming from a conservative Christian background, and not even having sex with this girl yet, but my art, leading with my art has always led me into a good place. So we're hanging out based around art. I'm a writer, so we get together and read, and it's 100 Years of Solitude. I'm like, this country shit's cool in the Drudge Report, whatever, but let's read some good Latin American literature. She's from Honduras and Nicaragua. Her family comes from, like, I told her about Ruben Dario, that this poet who he wrote to Roosevelt, an amazing poem, which exactly what I try to do in my poetry, capture the honesty and truth in your time into a form which will, that poem is better than a fucking textbook. If you want to know what the Latin America felt about our tugboat diplomacy, and the dignity of a people whose narratives and voices are lost within a history of just conquest and empire and manifest destiny. Like, just the American empire was destined to be what it is, and the voices of its victims don't deserve a place in our history. So we're 100 Years of Solitude is like that too, captured. So I'm sitting there and I'm smoking a cigarette, and then the moon's out, and I just remember that night, and she's sleeping, and I haven't been with this girl yet, but I know I'm falling in love with her. After these emails only go to December 31st, but by the end of the emails, I know that she's falling in love with me, I'm falling in love with her. I think that's why I put the emails up too. It captures our thing, but that night was one of those, like, where you just know you're gonna remember, like, just looking at the moon outside the window, smoking my cigarette, just being like, life's fucking crazy. Just like, where the fuck am I? I'm deep into Bushwick. Fucking, they have like a Chinese landlord. They only pay him cash. No check, only cashy, only cash. And as long as they pay him cash, they don't care. By the end of us staying there, we were renting out one of the closets. It was a walk-in closet. We were renting it out for $35 a night on Craigslist and paying most of the rent that way. It was a walk-in closet, and we were getting most of our rent that way on Craigslist because housing is tight. This is before Airbnb. Craigslist, this is what shapes my mind on internet companies and the internet economy, is so many companies have peeled off services that Craigslist offered. And so these companies, Airbnb and OkCupid and Tinder and a lot of the affiliates who now real estate people market through, we use Craigslist a lot. So why does Craigslist have the market share still that it does, even though all these other competitors do all these services better than Craigslist actually was able to do, because they've never really changed their platform? Trust. And that's where Tim Cook said that if your customers trust you, or if it's not enough for your customers to like you, they have to love you. In this internet age, trust is a huge thing, and Craigslist still has the trust. When Craig Newmark sold half of the company to eBay and eBay tried to act funny with it, he took him to court. So people trust the founder of Craigslist to still try to keep the culture right. And even though Craigslist hasn't really innovated, and even though its competitors have continually stripped away its services in order to do them better, it still is a great place to sell furniture. I don't know if I'd date on there or do a lot of the other things I used to do, but I've done ride shares on there. Later on, I have an email of all the stuff I've done on Craigslist. This is 55 minutes. We're gonna wrap this up. But this is good. I'm getting myself into a good spot. I'm gonna stop this and then start it up again, and then wrap it up. Part 3 of Online Romance, 2008.